Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going on a little bit of an adventure. It's going to continue for the next week or so. I'm going to be hopping on a plane and heading to Ireland. And it's going to be a knitting based trip. So I'm going to see a lot of yarn, a lot of sheep hopefully. And it's a group trip, it's a tour that's going on. I didn't know anyone on the tour when I signed up. I met a couple people since then. But yeah, I'm excited that the day's finally here. So I'm just going for a nice little walk before I have to go into airport land. I'm also just like reflecting on the fact that even before I went on the trip, it's already changed my life so much because it's hosted by a knitting group. And by going to search out that knitting group, I kept on taking steps that has largely increased my like knitting and crochet circle. So I'm already very grateful for that, but I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm gonna head back home now just so I can get ready to head out, because even though we have an airport in Philly, my flight's actually going out of JFK, so we got a little bit of a trip before we get there today and want to make things go as smoothly as possible. Already all packed though, so that part's good. I'm at the airport and everything went pretty smoothly so far. TSA went relatively quickly. Traffic on the way up to New York was typical traffic, but it came early, so I was prepared for it. And got some food, got to exchange some currency, and also met a couple other people who are going to be on the tour with me. So at this point, I got like a couple hours to kill, so I'm going to be working on the most travel-friendly of my test patterns that I have at the moment. And hopefully I'll be able to sleep on the airplane, whether I will or not, who knows. But yeah, next time I pick up the phone to talk to you guys, I will be in Ireland, which is very, very exciting. Welcome to Ireland. I made it. I have been awake for I don't know how many hours. It's been a lot of hours. They're giving us an early dinner tonight, thankfully, in order to get some rest for tomorrow. Especially like tomorrow is the optional castle trip, and I think I signed up for that, so I do want to be like relatively well rested for that. But it was super adventurous right after I signed off last, so pretty much within 5 minutes of me last speaking, I heard someone else mention Craftours, and I found even more people I was going on the tour with. And it turns out that at the airport there were actually two different groups giving tours. So there was like a craft tour quilting group and a craft tour knitting group, and I was running into people from both. So it's like, oh yeah, it's like the tours it's two separate tours, they're doing two separate things, but they sometimes intermingle. I ran into some of the quilters and some of the later stops. Like we pulled into Dublin, and from there we drove over to Galway, and I'm in a hotel room in Galway right now. Just to start off with like the airport bit, I have never talked to so many strangers in the airport in my life. So something they tell you with Craftours is they give you this lanyard, yeah? And with the lanyard, which I guess now my last name is going to be on the channel, whatever, they tell you wear this so that way people know who you are and they can find you. And this is like a magnet for, oh, you were on the tour with me? Hi, what's your name? What do you like to do? Where are you from? And I got to meet a lot of nice ladies through that. And so by the time I went on the plane, I already met like at least a third of the tour. And like I had to run into other people, and it was like nice. I got to spend that time talking with other people, which is not something where if I was not in a tour environment, I would typically go out and do, which was nice. The airplane ride was overall uneventful in the actual trip itself. It left on time. It arrived on time. It did leave from a different gate than it said on the boarding pass, but I caught it before we left, so I still caught the flight. That was good. It was a bigger plane than I was expecting, so I ended up in one of the double middle seats. Like, you know, the middle section and then the middle seat inside that section. So it was cramped. So I tried to fall asleep. At most, I got an hour and a half. It wasn't very successful. I did end up watching the Elvis movie
that I ended up like watching over someone's shoulder on the way to Vegas. But there were several things that flowed that I could not control. So one was my water bottle. I guess my water bottle leaked on me because things in my bag were wet that shouldn't have been wet. It looks like the brunt of the damage ended up on the pattern I was supposed to test pattern. Fortunately, I guess this makes it a little bit more obvious, yeah. I mean, if I just let it dry out, it can still work it. But it kills me that I printed this out just for this trip, and literally less than 24 hours later, water spill. When this happened, it was like, oh my gosh, what about the iPad? What about the new electrical adapter plug I just bought? The iPad seems to be fine. It did restart, but I mean, I'm filming on it right now, so it's fine. The adapter plug, I think, is charging my phone at the moment. Hopefully it'll plug it back up, but yeah. And like my sketchbook cover got wet, but the cover seems to have protect the pages inside. And I mean, if yarn gets wet, that's fine. Other things were relatively packaged well, so we'll see if the microphone works. So the second thing that went wrong, which was my phone. So like when I went on the plane, my phone was at like a 76% charge. And then my phone did the thing where it just overheated and suddenly it was down to like 22%. So it's like, let's charge it. And because it was overheating, it wouldn't let me charge the phone. It was literally like going way slower than it should have been. It made me question whether the cords were working. By the time I entered Dublin, my phone was dead. Millions of people have cross-country borders without a cell phone. I have crossed a country border without a cell phone, I want to say at least twice. It's not the end of the world. But I mean, the majority of the times where people crossed into another country without a cell phone working, it was pre-COVID. It was pre-21st century. So, it's a different world now. It's kind of like, oh, I guess my phone doesn't work. Better stay close to the tour. And fortunately, my iPad works. So I was still able to take pictures and like footage and whatnot. So hopefully it's charging now and I can do the things that I need to do with it later on. And hopefully, I think I was probably running too many things. So I'm going to go tech exploring when my phone is a little bit more charged, probably after dinner. So that way it's not like going to die on me again while I'm in the middle of exploring. Because I want that safeguard. And then the last thing that was flowing was my period. So my period chose the worst time to come. Just to put it in perspective, I was on day 4 of my period. Day 4 is starting to wind down, but it's a day where sneak attacks happen on my period. And I got sneak attacked, so I bled through my pants before I even hit Dublin. I was not happy about that. I finally got to change, and it feels so much better. The fact that I'm on day 4 coming into Ireland means by the time the trip ends, my period should be gone, and I won't have to worry about it for the whole trip. But traveling with an active period while on an airplane sucks. It really sucks. After we got on the airplane and we found a tour guide, and we ended up getting on our bus and we made it to Galway. Like on the way there, like we actually stopped by a rest area, get some food and to use the bathroom, which I was thankful for because I was already like paying attention to the fact that I bled through my pants. Yeah, I got to eat some food and it was interesting, like seeing the road. Like Ireland drives on the left side of the road, the driver's on the left side of the road. And I don't know if I've just watched a lot of Irish media or like British media in general, or if it's just like I went from one temperate climate to another temperate climate. But at first, like leaving Dublin going into like the countryside, didn't feel strange to me. Like, yeah, things were a little bit different. Things were in kilometers. There were little signs that had both Irish and English on it. There were little things, but it didn't feel strange. It felt like I just stepped into an alternate reality. And it was an adaptable alternate reality. It wasn't until, like, we got more into the countryside, like, even more into the countryside closer to Galway, that we started seeing, like, the stone walls and the farm life. A lot more cows than sheep, but we saw first sheep. I don't have good footage of that because I was too busy knitting and trying to find sheep. That was my priority at the time, was trying to catch the glimpses of sheep. And then they took us to the Galway city center where, like, we parked right outside the cathedral. They showed us a shop, and it turns out, like, they pointed out the first yarn shop. The yarn shop was inside a homeware, or not a hardware store, but like a home goods store, and the yarn was just a section of it. I'm gonna go into more depth in a different video all about the yarn for Ireland. I got some yarn, and then I wandered around a market. I bought a painting from the market. I'm gonna insert a clip of it here. Here is the cute little goose picture, now in what I believe is gonna be his permanent home for a while. And then I wandered to a bookstore, and I bought a book about knitting. And then I went into the cathedral, where I was, like, touching on both my previous Catholic upbringing and my art history nerdy stuff. And then actually made it to the hotel for the first time, where I have a room all to myself. I'm very thankful I have a room all to myself. And I'm just waiting for dinner. I'm just taking the time to decompress because I have been surrounded by crowds of people for over 12 hours now, I would say. Yeah, which I'm glad I'm interacting with people, but I also enjoy my alone time too. I'm looking forward to getting something of a rest. I am concerned that my phone is not adjusting to the Dublin time or the Ireland time, because that might affect wake up. I'm brain dead right now. I think once I get food, it's just going to be like internet vegetation, maybe figure out what's to do for the next couple days, things like that. That was day one of Ireland.